Yeah? You're pretty hyper today. You can say good morning. You can say good morning, everybody. Right? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I have Pig here, who is very playful this morning, so I figured I would give her a hello on screen this morning. What is it today? Today is Wednesday, right? So happy Wednesday from Pig and myself. I'm going to see if she'll take a bone because she's very much wanting to play today. So, all right, Pig. We're probably going to hear her in the background today with the live. So good morning. Hello, everyone. Once again, it's Wednesday. I have to keep reminding myself of that. It's Wednesday, and I am Dr. Trisha Pingel, and this is your morning checkup. We're going to talk about magnesium today and why it is so important for your health. Okay, so magnesium's a big one. Very, very, very important. So how are you guys all doing out there? How is isolation and reopening and all these things? How are all of you handling this? Are you surviving? I know I get mixed reviews when I ask people that. I get all sorts of different opinions. So hopefully all of you out there are making the best of the situation, the best that you can. That's all we can do. So we just do what we can to take care of ourselves, our family, and our neighbors, and our loved ones, and just keep moving forward, right? One step in front of the other. So hopefully that's what you're maintaining, and, no matter where we all come from, no matter our opinion, no matter where we land, the bottom line is we're all having to deal with this situation in some way. So in that way, we're all very much connected. So hopefully we can focus on that beautiful connection and keep moving forward. So rather quiet out there right now. There we go. Not ready for this heat. A fellow Arizonan says, I actually love the heat. I would take the summer over cold any day, but yes, it is very hot. So I hear you. Hello, good morning. Thank you. Some of you joining on both Instagram and Facebook. To those of you that are new, I do stream both platforms at the same time. So my eyes move around a little bit as I address each of you and trying to watch all the comments on either side. So, and I do have my little Pig who is focused on a bone this morning and is making lots of noise and complaints. Pig, did you want to say hi again? Yeah, and then we'll dive into magnesium. So you will probably hear her today because she's making all sorts of complaints about me taking the ball away and giving her a bone instead. Right? So anyway, hello from Pig. Hopefully this makes you smile. She certainly smiles, makes me smile. So try to stay positive. All right, we're going to see how she does. So once again, this is your morning checkup. I'm Dr. Trisha Pingel, and we're going to be talking about magnesium today. Now, I don't know if you know this, but it's estimated that 60% of Americans do not get enough magnesium in their diet. 60%. And 45% of you out there are considered clinically deficient. So when we look at percentages, we spend a lot of time looking at percentages, right? Percentages of who will get sick, who will get that, who will die. 45% considered deficient in magnesium. That is a big deal, okay? And it's not talked about enough, right? Because this is something that can change your health for the better. Everyone's saying hi to you, Piggy. She finally took her bone. Thank goodness. Fitting that we're talking about magnesium because it has a lot to do with bone health, and there she is over there chewing her little bone. But magnesium is important because it is involved in over 800 different essential roles in your body. Now, we play with these words essential and non-essential a lot lately, right? Essential. You need magnesium to do over 800 essential activities within your body. So, if 45% of you are clinically deficient and 60% of you are not getting enough on a day-to-day basis, guess what? You're going to have disease development and symptom development. It's inevitable. And the problem is that the symptoms of this condition look like a bunch of other conditions. So you could be misdiagnosed, or the condition that you're having could be remedied or assisted by looking at your magnesium intake. Okay, so that's why this is such an important mineral. All right, and I do have an article on this, and I will put it in the comments, as I usually do, so you can follow along or read it afterwards. So you don't have to take too many notes. You can just sit back, grab your coffee, take a look. Sleepy today, just a little. I have some people asking about what type of magnesium. Give me a little bit of time. I will get to not only how to take it, the forms of it, why they're used in different situations, why there are so many different forms of magnesium, and how they're utilized. I'm going to get to all of that by the end, okay? So bear with me. We're going to start with a little bit about what magnesium does so you can understand that. I'm going to talk about magnesium deficiencies. I'm going to talk about conditions that are associated with magnesium deficiency. And then I'm going to get into what do we do about it, how do we incorporate it, what forms are best, absorbable forms, and all of that. So I got you covered today. If you have a little bit of time, I'm here for you, okay? We're going to talk about it. So let's talk about magnesium. In addition to being involved in over 800 different essential roles, it also is a cofactor in over 300 enzymes. Now, what does that mean, a cofactor? So I've talked about this before, but for those of you that haven't heard, anytime that you move forward with a chemical reaction, which is what our body does, right? It has a substrate and it produces a product. And from that product, or it has a substrate and it breaks down to a product, right? We're always having all these chemical reactions going back and forth. A cofactor is something that assists with that. Okay, so it's like having an assistant that comes in and moves the reaction. So if you don't have the cofactor available to make serotonin, for example, you can take all the 5-HTP you want. It won't turn into serotonin without cofactors, such as magnesium and vitamin C. Okay, you need these cofactors to complete the reaction. Magnesium is involved in over 300 different enzymatic reactions in the body as a cofactor. Okay, so if you don't have it, you're not making the products that your body has intended you to make, and that causes disease. Okay, that's what happens. Most of the magnesium is found in your bones. I know a lot of you think maybe calcium is the primary component of your bones, and that's what you've been taught, but magnesium is actually a key player in that. 50 to 60% of your magnesium is kept within your bones. The rest is kept in the soft tissues and in your blood. This is why often magnesium testing through the blood is not always 100% accurate, because you can pull it from the bones and move it into the blood, but it's harder to assess how much is really stored in the bones with those types of testing. So that's why sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to find these outright deficiencies. The kidneys play a major role in maintaining the balance of magnesium in the body. It also works through a signaling mechanism in the brain. So we have something called a parathyroid hormone. We have signals from the brain that control our release of calcium, magnesium, and many other minerals. All of these play together, especially the top four: calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. So if you have imbalances in any of those areas, it's going to impact all the others, okay? And we're going to talk even more about that physiology, because it's really rather cool, right? That we have this ability to change our status in a moment's notice based on mineral balance. We're really quite amazing animals. I think in general, it's just amazing how the body works. So magnesium is the fourth most abundant mineral in your body. Okay. Hello to everyone joining. Good morning. We're talking about magnesium. Magnesium also keeps your heart beating steady in a proper rhythm. It maintains regular muscle contraction. It breaks down food into energy. And it makes sure all your nerves are firing, okay? Those are some of the main functions of it, but there are many more. So it's involved very highly in cellular energy and in toxin removal, okay? So this is also a very important aspect when we talk about stress, which of course I will talk about, and toxins in our environment, and the quality of our food makes a huge role in what magnesium does for us, okay? All right, sip of coffee. Let you guys catch up. All right. Okay, so in order for our body to harvest energy, build new tissue, remove waste, and create new DNA, we need magnesium, okay? The less magnesium you have, the slower the reaction to do these things. So when we use a term like slow metabolism, that doesn't always deal with weight loss and weight gain. It deals with everything. So if you're trying to make a neurotransmitter, for example, if you're trying to make serotonin and you have tons of the substrate and you don't have enough of all the essential vitamins that are needed to turn it into serotonin and then melatonin, you're going to have a slower reaction. You're going to have more anxiety because you're not getting the product returned in enough time. It's like slowing down a conveyor belt, right? You still produce the product, but it's in lower amount. And that lower amount then causes more stress on the body because it produces a symptom. Now, when it comes to magnesium, this can happen pretty much anywhere in the body because it's involved in so many reactions. So everything from poor bone health, osteoporosis, osteopenia, to anxiety, depression, insomnia, to diabetes, to thyroid, all of these things are related, right? Because magnesium's involved in all of these. Okay, it's involved in all of these reactions. So if you have a reaction slow, you're going to have a symptom. That symptom is going to put stress on the body, which is going to cause more slowing of the metabolism and more nutrient deficiency. Want to let that sink in? Crazy. We're kind of like a constant hamster wheel, and our body knows what to do. That's the beauty of our body. It knows what to do. It is smart, but it can't do it if it doesn't have the right tools. I mean, if you're trying to create a product and your workers don't show up, you're not going to get very far on the product. You're only going to make so much, right? You're going to have limited availability, right? Supply and demand. So, magnesium gives you cellular energy. So I don't know how many of you took biology in high school or college, or my son's taking it right now and he's in 6th grade. It's crazy. But you may have heard of something called ATP. Okay, which essentially is our potential energy in our body. So in order to do any cellular processes, it requires energy. So when I use the word energy here, of course I'm talking about how you feel. Do you have the energy to get up, go out throughout your day? But I'm actually also talking about the energy required to produce a reaction. Okay, because anytime we take component A and turn it into component B with all these cofactors, it requires energy to do so on a cellular level. Magnesium is required to produce that energy. So if you don't have enough magnesium, you cannot produce enough ATP. The body is going to divert the energy to where it needs it the most, and it's going to take it away from other processes that are deemed in your body non-essential, right? They are essential, right? How we feel, our mood is essential, but if the body has to choose between keeping the heart beating or your mood, it's going to pick keeping your heart beating, right? So it has to determine what's more essential than others. This kind of applies to our time right now, right? Our body's the same way. It has to make a decision. So you need ATP to do everything in your body. You don't run without ATP, okay? If you could imagine like a video game, you know, the old school Pac-Man freestanding, and you put a coin in to play your game, and then when it runs out of coins, you have to put more in. Think of ATP as a coin, okay? If you want to keep playing, you have to keep putting more in, okay? The less you put in, the less time you get to play. Okay, so when we look at cellular health, the less magnesium you have, in addition to other nutrients that become deficient because of magnesium, the less time you have here on Earth. I just kind of look at it that way, right? You can only maintain cellular energy for so long on minimal coins. Okay, that's why magnesium is so critical to your health, okay? A lack of magnesium means you have a lack of amino acids, a lack of proteins, resulting in malnourishment. It causes anxiety, insomnia, brain fog, and depression if you don't have enough magnesium. And those in themselves are stress on the body. So there was a live I did on adrenal fatigue recently. Was it last week? I don't remember what week it is. And I talked about internal and external stresses and how those impact your body. Having a nutritional deficiency is an internal stress on the body. Having anxiety is an internal stress on the body. Insomnia, internal stress, because the body is trying to recover for that. It's trying to divert and adapt to this new situation. So it just adds more stress, okay? Magnesium, and like I said earlier, for those of you who missed it, 60% of Americans do not get the recommended amount of magnesium in their diet per day, and 45% of you are considered deficient. That means that likely 45% of you or more have many of the issues that I've been mentioning here: fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, poor metabolism, bone problems. I mean, we're going to go into them all, right? And this is why a lot of the top conditions in our society are benefited by the addition of magnesium. Okay? So, magnesium is required to make neurotransmitters. And magnesium is required to build proteins, okay? Proteins and amino acids are very, very important in our body. Magnesium is also essential in the production and the repair of DNA. Now, a lot of people don't know that, okay? And a lot of people don't even realize that we damage DNA. Our DNA can get damaged. It can be damaged by chemicals primarily. I mean, this is why a lot of the, environmental concerns about, chemicals on our crops and, even things like chemotherapy, these are how these things work. The chemical damages the DNA, right? Our body has adapted to repair damaged DNA. Okay, we have to repair it faster than it's destroyed, however, otherwise we have permanent damage. So a lot of the, nerve damage and, genetic abnormalities that happen come from damage of DNA. Well, magnesium is key in replacing base units and creating new strands. Okay, so if you look at what our body can do with repairing DNA, a lot of people don't even realize that we can do that, or why we care about things that damage DNA, so extensively in the environmental medicine arena. And that is because DNA repair is basically divided into two different sections in our body. One is a direct reversal of the chemical reaction that damages the DNA. So there's some ways that our body can just stop the reaction from happening, which is cool. But magnesium, more involved in, it will actually remove the damaged bases in the strand of DNA and synthesize and replace them with repaired DNA. Okay, that is really cool. This is a whole basis in anti-aging, all this type of environmental medicine, ways that you can lower toxin in your body. You want to lower toxin to keep your DNA intact. But in the event it's damaged, which all of our DNA gets damaged in some way, magnesium is involved in the repair of that. Okay, so very, very important. A lot of people don't realize that about the genetic component and the involvement of magnesium. Okay. People are asking about magnesium and glutathione being synergistic. Yeah, glutathione is a very potent antioxidant. It kills off the free radicals that cause damage to the DNA. Magnesium is also involved in the repair and the replacement of that damage. So yes, they work together, but in different ways, if that makes sense. Everything in our body works together. Nothing is independent. I have yet to find it. Okay, if someone finds it, one thing that works solo and doesn't impact everything else in your body, throw it at me. I haven't found it yet. Okay, another very, very, very important aspect of magnesium is that it helps balance and keep other minerals at the correct level. So in the beginning of this little live, I gave you, our main minerals of calcium, potassium, sodium, and magnesium. All of these are very, very involved in pretty much every aspect of our metabolism. Electrolyte balance is key, okay? This plays a role with water too. So how many of you drink water, speaking of which, and find it just runs through you? You don't get that hydration. Usually that means there's an electrolyte imbalance, because electrolytes, these four minerals, help drive water into the cell. They help drive each other into the cell. So everything in our body is from a cell, right? So when we contract a muscle, that requires a muscle cell, right? So people who have restless legs or their muscles cramp all the time and stuff, that's requiring electrolytes and water to signal, right? So if you're having symptoms like that, it means that the mineral balance is off. The problem is that all of these minerals require each other. So for example, I often find clinically that people that come to me with low potassium often are not truly low in potassium. What they're low in is magnesium, but magnesium and potassium have a relationship. And if you take too much potassium, it can potentially be toxic. Magnesium does not necessarily have that same aspect. I'm not saying you can't overdose on magnesium, folks. You can, okay? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the limit at which you can take of these, you can take a lot more magnesium safely than you can potassium. And by increasing that potassium component, if you're deficient in magnesium already, could actually worsen the situation. It could make the magnesium go lower and cause more problems. So you have to look at all of these electrolytes in balance to each other. Our body is amazing like that, absolutely amazing. So electrolyte imbalance between any of these is often linked to a wide variety of conditions. conditions, okay? Heart rhythm abnormalities, for example, blood pressure being high or low, this concentration of imbalanced sodium and potassium can also impact nerve cells and can also cause anxiety, insomnia, migraines, random twitching, increased sensitivity to noises, restless leg syndrome, okay? So pay attention to that interrelationship, okay? They all go together. This is why very rarely do I simply give just one mineral at a time, although I will tell you, the one mineral that I tend to give by itself more than any other mineral is magnesium, because we are so deficient. So if you're someone who's nutritionally sound, you want to give all the minerals equally, right? If you're someone who's not nutritionally sound, you want to balance that out so that you get a higher amount of the ones that you're deficient in and keep the other levels not decreasing, if that makes sense. So let's talk about a little bit more about magnesium deficiency itself. I've given a bunch of symptoms already that are associated with mineral deficiency, but there's also a lot of links to chronic disease associated with magnesium deficiency, such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, osteoporosis, asthma, Alzheimer's disease, chronic migraine headaches, and restless leg syndrome. Now, if you typed all those in and said, what is the prevalence of this disease in America, you're going to see it's pretty darn far up there, okay? So there's obviously a mineral deficiency. It makes sense if 45% of you are deficient and 60% of you don't get enough in your diet. It makes sense that these are some of the top conditions. And the problem is those conditions then cause further deficiencies, and the medications given for a lot of those can cause deficiencies as well. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to the side effects of all this, okay? Studies have also been shown that low magnesium intake gives you a higher risk of colorectal cancer. That's been well documented, okay? Now, how to assess low magnesium levels can be very difficult. As I said earlier, the majority of your magnesium is stored in your bones. So if you go and you get a blood test, you're not really going to get a very accurate reading on how much magnesium you have. All you're going to get is the reading of how much the brain is allowing to be released from the bone. Okay, so what I usually do is I always take into account the symptoms that are associated with magnesium deficiency, and sometimes I find it better just to do a trial of certain forms of magnesium. I'm coming back to that, just to see if you have resolution of symptoms. There are also more extensive nutritional testing available. You can test through the white blood cells, you can test through the urine by byproducts, and those I think have a little bit better understanding of nutritional analysis than your simple blood test from a major lab that just looks for a red blood cell volume of magnesium. Okay, so most people when I run that don't come back deficient. Now they may come back in the lower end, but they have a ton of symptoms of magnesium deficiency, or they have conditions that are associated with magnesium deficiency. So because it's relatively safe in most cases, sometimes it's easier to just treat than test. But talk to your doctor about that. It never hurts to check it. I just wouldn't always take magnesium in range as a 100% that you don't have an issue with it. You just wouldn't be clinically deficient at that point, if that makes sense, okay? Now, what causes magnesium deficiency? I bet some of you can take a guess what my number one answer is going to be here. I'm looking for some answers. I'm looking for everyone to pop up and say, stress, Dr. Pingel. That's what does it. We're too stressed out, because you're 100% right. We are too stressed out. We are not maintaining our bodies. Our bodies are adapting. They're at the expense of our nutrition. When you're stressed out, you will not absorb it from your food. When you're eating a poor diet, you will not get good magnesium from your food, right? Yeah, see, I got some stresses coming up. I like it. I guess you guys have been joining in regularly. Stress is absolutely critical. If you have a lot of stress, you will have low minerals. In fact, you'll have pretty much nutritional deficiencies across the board if you don't replenish them, okay? So adrenal stress, as we just talked about a second ago, could be external or internal. If you have any of these conditions, that causes stress. If you already have a magnesium deficiency, that causes stress. If you have a vitamin C deficiency, that causes stress. You don't drink enough water, that causes stress. So stress is not simply external stuff impacting you, right? You may have a great life, you may have a great job, you may have wonderful kids and a wonderful spouse, but to say that stress doesn't impact your body is not true. Anytime you don't have everything that your body needs to produce ATP to do these cellular reactions, that's considered stress. Compound that with the stress around us and it's heightened, right? So that is a very, very common magnesium deficiency cause is internal and external stress, okay? So supporting the adrenal glands and mindfulness and reframing and all these things that I talk about, practicing gratitude, these things that help put you into a parasympathetic state, a calm state are important. Now, I'm going to get to this in a second, but magnesium helps us get into that calm state. So if you don't have enough, that can seem a little bit difficult. Other reasons why you may have magnesium deficiency, standard American diet is ridiculously deficient in it, okay? Your cereals that are fortified with magnesium are not fortified with absorbable great magnesium. They're not, okay? So when you're eating what our standard American diet is, that's not including a ton of natural plants, nuts, and seeds, you're not getting enough magnesium in your diet. Not to mention, even if you are eating that, our soil is not as rich as it used to be. We've been over farming it, so if a lot of local farmers take a lot of care in the quality of their soil. That's why I always recommend trying to get local produce, but you can't always do that, okay? So we have to recognize that when we can't do that, we're going to have less nutrient in our food, okay? If you're someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, that definitely depletes magnesium. Any type of inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, very, very commonly are magnesium deficient. For those of you with thyroid problems, low thyroid, for example, low thyroid causes magnesium imbalance, and magnesium imbalance can impact the way the thyroid is utilized. That's one of those situations where it goes both ways. So very rarely do I not have someone on thyroid also considering magnesium. A lot of the questions coming through on Facebook about what to eat, how to take, I'm coming back to, okay? Bear with me. Other reasons why we may have magnesium deficiency, there are certain conditions, renal disease is highly regulated by the kidneys. So anyone with renal disease usually has some sort of magnesium problem. Anyone who's urinating a lot. So this includes people who use diuretics, possibly to lower their blood pressure. If you're urinating a lot of things out, that matters. Another drug that you guys should pay attention to are acid blockers. Okay, so I haven't done a live on this yet, but I need to. Heartburn and reflux affect like 60 some million people in the US, and these people are using acid blockers, okay, to block acid. Those cause deficiencies in magnesiums as well. And oddly enough, many of them have magnesium in them, but it's in a magnesium oxide form, which is not as absorbable. So pay attention to what you're taking and how that impacts your digestion, because you're gonna have to supplement more than somebody that doesn't take that, okay? Pig is talking. Sorry about the grunting back there. You good, Pig? Makes sense? When you are starting to see signs of magnesium deficiency, I kind of look at this in a gradation type scale. You've got the early signs of magnesium imbalance that lead to signs of outright deficiency. Now, I think the majority of us live in the imbalanced state, okay? I take magnesium every day. People ask me all the time, what do you take? What do you take to stay well? I take magnesium every single night. And because I'm under a lot of stress. I mean, as much as I learn how to manage it and as all these skills that I'm teaching you that I've learned for myself that I practice on a daily basis, the external stress is still there. I can't get rid of that, right? I can only change the way that I absorb it. I can change the way I absorb it, and I can help benefit my body to help better manage it, right? That's all I can do. So magnesium is part of that routine for me. But some of the early magnesium symptoms are loss of appetite, fatigue, muscle spasms, muscle cramping, muscle weakness. So all of you with fibromyalgia or with many rheumatoid type conditions, pay attention, okay? Twitches, eye twitches, muscle twitches, random spasms, very, very, very common. And we know, because I've done a live on anxiety before, how many of you are impacted. Anxiety, insomnia, and depression, very common signs of magnesium deficiency. Or They could be due to something else, guys, but magnesium is going to help you remedy it because you need the magnesium to create all those neurotransmitters to reverse the situation, okay? So it's involved somehow. Restless legs, very, very common. Magnesium is a common treatment for restless legs. I do find people tend to take the wrong form, so I'm going to talk about that in a second. Brain fog, headaches, chronic migraines, right? Magnesium is used quite a bit in migraine therapy for a reason. Constipation. Magnesium is beautiful at regulating bowels. Awesome at regulating bowels. Different forms have different impacts, okay? Once again, coming back to that. I won't leave you hanging, okay? Pig is over there. I don't know if you guys can hear her, but my little French bulldog is she's just talking up a storm over there because I took her ball away and she's not happy because she makes too much noise when I'm doing a live and there's a ball in the room. So she's complaining hardcore right now. And I don't know if you can hear her. She may come say hello. Attention deficit disorder, early magnesium deficiency. So brain fog, inability to concentrate, excitatory neurotransmitters taking off where your inhibitory neurotransmitters are low. So that's anything that's excitable. So attention deficit disorder, anxiety, insomnia, asthma. In fact, in hospitals and ERs, they often use IV magnesium to get you out of an asthma attack, an acute asthma attack. There's a reason why, okay? High blood pressure. Magnesium has a pretty good impact on blood pressure, and in many people, it lowers it down. Now, because of that, if you have low blood pressure, you have to be a little bit careful in taking it, right? So all of these things that I recommend, I say this every time, these are for your education. This is for you to take to learn about and then take to your doctor to discuss, okay? I'm not prescribing it. I'm not telling you to take it. What I'm saying is that it is critical in our health and you need to be aware of that, okay? And then figure out with your doctor how you want to incorporate it, take the education that you learn and be your own patient and health advocate. That's why I do what I do, guys, okay? This is not giving a prescription to you. It's giving you education, okay? Once you've moved into actual outright magnesium deficiency, you see more serious impact. Seizures, arrhythmias in the heart, so imbalances and palpitations in heart rhythm, osteoporosis, changes in personality, right? More to that excitable side, more to that anxiety side. Magnesium has a great impact on that. Now, ultimately, if you run out of magnesium, if you're one of those that is truly deficient, it can also result in death because, as I said in the beginning, magnesium is involved in over 800 essential functions in your body, okay? You need it. If you don't have it, you have no energy. If you have no energy, you have no metabolic activity. You have no metabolic activity, you're not alive, okay? We need it, okay? So I know I've touched on the stress component. I won't spend a ton of time, but I want you to think one more time about this, okay? If you have low levels, if you have, someone's saying they can't hear me. You can't hear me? Oh, well, if you can't, I will repost this, okay? Sorry about that. As magnesium, oh, you can't hear Pig. I gotcha. Sorry. I guess I need more magnesium today. That's too bad. As magnesium levels drop in your blood, that causes more stress. So stress causes a deficiency in magnesium, and magnesium deficiency causes stress. There's that hamster wheel again, right? That we just can't get ourselves out of. So pay attention to that. This is too common, okay? So, she found her bone. All right. So, let me take a breath and we're going to talk about how to get more magnesium into your diet and the different forms and the supplements, okay? Which I know a lot of you are asking about. So thank you. I'm glad you're all out there. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. All right, coffee, water, right? Did you know when I tell you guys to drink half your body weight in ounces of water, that for every cup of coffee, you have to add another, so if you have 8 ounces of coffee, you have to add another 8 ounces of water, which is why you commonly see me with my little coffee cup and my water cup. I take a sip, right? Because it does dehydrate. And now I have a French bulldog licking my toes. Okay, so how can we improve our magnesium in our body? There are multiple ways. So I'm going to talk about some different options. Not every one applies to everybody, but just so you know. Number one of my favorite ways to incorporate magnesium to the muscles is through Epsom salt baths. Okay, Epsom salt is not actually salt as in like table salt. It's actually a magnesium sulfate crystal. Okay, now magnesium sulfate, I want to tell you, absorbed orally does not absorb well nutritionally. Okay, and I'm going to come back to that. So magnesium sulfate orally used very differently than magnesium sulfate as a salt. Someone is really trying to get your guys' attention. Yes, we know. Yes, we know. So when you have, so what I like to do is I like to take like 1 to 2 cups of Epsom salts and put them into a warm bath. You can even add different essential oils. You can even add different essential oils to that blend, lavender, eucalyptus, to kind of help have a relaxing bath. Not only is it relaxing, which helps access the parasympathetic system, so that helps manage your stress, but it also sends the magnesium directly to the muscles. So it's a great routine. If you're someone who's regularly under stress or you have a lot of muscle aches and pains, an Epsom salt bath is a nice thing to incorporate. It's very easy. Epsom salts are inexpensive. You can get them anywhere. So it's a great way to do that. I recommend it a lot for muscle pain, stress, and fatigue. Okay. Diet. Now I've seen a lot of you throw stuff up there about leafy vegetables, plants. You're absolutely right. The reason why we're so deficient with magnesium in America is due to the diet that we eat, which tends to be, a lot of meat and very few vegetables, okay? And a lot of processed foods and boxed foods and foods with additives and chemicals in their production. These things do not provide us with magnesium, and they also potentially, if there's a lot of chemicals in their creation, as we talked about earlier, can damage DNA. And if you don't have enough magnesium to repair that DNA, you're going to have aging processes and disease processes. And this is contributing, in my opinion, to a lot of the conditions that we see in our country. Okay, so it is very, very important to incorporate magnesium-rich foods. Now, magnesium is one of those things, it's not like a mineral that you take in high abundance every day. It's one of those things that you should just regularly incorporate into your daily diet, okay? And if you're doing that, you should get enough. Now, someone's asking, if you don't have a bath, what do you do? I know. Isn't that unfortunate? You can't really soak in Epsom salts in a shower, but you can try incorporating it. There are magnesium sulfate gels and stuff you can rub on muscles as well, so that might be something. So Pig, we were talking about magnesium-rich foods, right? Yeah. Okay. So she's very happy to join today. So some of the most magnesium-rich foods are ones that can be incorporated in small amounts every single day. Nuts, almonds, cashews, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, vegan, well-sourced dark chocolate. I did a live on that. I encourage you to go back and look at it. I also have an article on that. Not all chocolate is the same. I'm not talking about Hershey's milk chocolate, folks. Black beans, spinach, avocados, brown rice, oatmeal, kidney beans, lentils, bananas. If you're someone who likes fish, salmon, wild caught salmon. I always like to make sure that's well sourced as well. There's a lot of toxins in seafoods. Are you done? Okay. She's saying goodbye. So those are some great ways to incorporate it. Someone's asking about muscles hurting after Epsom salts baths. I would take a look at your hydration level, because if you're putting a mineral in and you're having the opposite reaction, usually there's not enough water or electrolyte exchange. Perhaps your sodium, potassium, and calcium levels are off. Those are things to talk to about your doctor. That's usually an indication that something's not absorbing right, okay? Those are some ways you can incorporate magnesium in your diet. Now, I feel like I've said this a lot, but it's worth saying again, 75% of your plate should be plants. Okay, they should come from plants. And if you're doing that with every single meal, you're making sure that you're getting a wide variety of plants, nuts, and seeds. You typically can improve your mineral status. Now, on top of that, you want to make sure you're getting a ton of water, right? As we're talking about, people are asking about why would they get more muscle aches and pains after magnesium? Because there's not enough water, okay? You need to make sure that water, that hydration level is there. And the more de-stress you do, the better you'll absorb that magnesium from these plant-based foods. Okay, does that make sense to you? Hi, Erin, how you doing out there? Nice to see you. So now on to supplements. A lot of you guys have been asking me about magnesium supplements. Here's the deal. Not all magnesium supplement is equal, and there are a ton of them. If you type in magnesium supplements, you're gonna see magnesium orotate, magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate. You know, the list is endless. They go on and on. Here's the thing, is every magnesium, whenever you have a mineral, you're binding it to a ligand. You're binding it to something for the purpose of absorption, okay? So if you want elemental magnesium in your body, which is what you're looking for, there are different forms that provide more elemental magnesium to your body than others. So for example, very common magnesium, two very common magnesiums out there. And I'm gonna take a bet that if most of you go out to your supplement cabinet and you pull out your magnesium, you guys are gonna have one of these forms, and you're gonna be disappointed in me because I'm gonna tell you where to put it. If it says magnesium sulfite or magnesium oxide, you are not getting a lot of elemental magnesium. Okay, so you could be taking 500 milligrams of that and hardly getting any, okay? That's not what we want. If you're looking to replenish magnesium levels, then you need to have a good source of elemental magnesium. This is why using foods is so helpful. Now, if you want something that's rather similar to a food, magnesium citrate can come in handy there, because the citrate would be kind of like if you were having a citrus fruit. You know, you're gonna absorb it. You're not gonna absorb as much as you would with other forms, but it's better than the magnesium and the sulfate, okay? If it's magnesium and sulfate, all that's gonna do is work as a laxative. Now, if you need that, great, but don't count on it for your magnesium levels, okay, guys? Often, you'll see, I wish I had these, I don't buy these supplements that have all the inactive forms, so I don't have an example for you, but there's some where it'll say it's like a combination, like it's part citrate, part oxide, and part, glycinate, but it doesn't tell you what component of what is what, okay? If the magnesium was fairly cheap, like really cheap, with some random label on it, not from a pharmaceutical company, and it says it has a blend, I'm gonna guess it's primarily sulfate and oxide, which is not getting as much. Someone's asking about magnesium sulfate. Yeah, no, I think topically, this is my opinion, okay, but topically as an Epsom salt, I think it works great. Orally, I don't feel you get enough magnesium from it. Okay, now if you're someone who has enough magnesium and you're just supplementing, sure, right? But it's not giving you that, it's not gonna give you that nutritional benefit. My favorite form for nutritional benefit is magnesium glycinate. Now, this is in the article. I know all of you are gonna start asking how to spell that. Glycinate. Why do I like magnesium glycinate? Number one, someone's asking also about malate and glycinate. Little bit different action. Malate has a little bit more impact on the muscles. I find glycinate works just as well and has the added bonus that I'm about to tell you. So glycinate is magnesium and glycine basically put together. Now, glycine helps calm our body. It acts on the parasympathetic nervous system to calm us down. So I've already told you that the majority of magnesium deficiencies, the symptoms from that are anxiety, insomnia, right? So if you can take something that not only repairs the magnesium so that you can make those calming neurotransmitters, but also adds a little bit of a calming aspect to it, great, right? Because then you get better efficacy out of it. You also can take a lot lower dosages because the percentage of elemental magnesium in a magnesium glycinate is significantly higher. So for example, in magnesium glycinate supplements, you may see, 120 milligrams or 150 milligrams, right? Where when you look at a magnesium citrate, it may be 250 or 500 milligrams, and you think, wow, that's stronger. Not necessarily, because the magnesium glycinate has far more elemental magnesium. You guys following me? You with me? Okay? So that's why I like magnesium glycinate. Calms you down, gives you a nice form. Now, there are others that I use. Magnesium orotate, used a lot in, that's orotate, O-R-O-T-A-T-E. That is used a lot in cardiovascular conditions, heart palpitations, heart muscle problems, cardiovascular conditions, highly researched in that because it tends to have more impact on heart muscle. So all of these different forms have different mechanisms, but I can tell you almost always sulfate and oxide, not gonna help, okay? I love the laxative effect of magnesium. What's nice about, so I actually think that's great because if it helps you go to the bathroom every day, we're removing toxins. However, in people that need higher doses, orotate is often used because it doesn't tend to have as much of a laxative effect. Okay, so I like glycinate. It has a little bit of a laxative effect, higher elemental magnesium per capsule, and it also calms you down. With that said, dosages, always check with your doctor, okay? But like I said, you can't always go by magnesium milligrams because it depends on the form. The one thing I can tell you is if you take too much magnesium, you will know because you will be in the bathroom all day. So if you're in the bathroom all day, back off. If you're not in the bathroom enough, increase it. That's kind of my general guideline. Where to start, I would look at the guidelines on the label or speak to your doctor about where to start. Unfortunately, you guys aren't on my payroll. I can't tell you where to start, but I can tell you what will happen if you take too much or too little and the benefits of it. The purpose of this, guys, once again, is to teach you what to look for, to look how you can improve your health and take this information to your doctor so that you can be your own health advocate. That's my goal here, okay? Magnesium, very important. For those of you that joined in late, I promise this will be posted both on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube so that you can go back and watch it from the beginning. I will go in and answer all your questions. You guys are awesome. You know what's really, just on a personal note, it's so nice to see many of you just coming back and meeting with me every single morning. I see the same names. I see all sorts of people waving, asking questions, and that fills my soul. That means I'm doing what I want to do, which is educate you, and you're finding this information helpful. Okay, so if this is helpful to other people, share it, tag it. For those of you that aren't aware, I do have articles on my website, drpingel.com, and I do have an article on magnesium. I talk about magnesium a lot in my adrenal fatigue articles as well. You can rewatch this live and all other lives. Please keep showing up. I'll be here tomorrow. I'm not sure my topic yet. Still taking suggestions. Some of you have been great with sending me suggestions, and I am kind of working through them. Sometimes it's hard to figure out how to give all that information in a short period of time, so it takes me a couple weeks to kind of figure out how I want to condense it. So, but I do put them on the list. So thank you so much. To all of you that just joined, nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Tricia Pingel. This is your morning checkup, and I will see you tomorrow around the same time. Have a fantastic day, people, and please be well. And goodbye from Pig, who is now passed out from eating her bone. You all have a great day. Take care now.